When I think about the best piece of advice I've gotten, I actually think about two different things or two pieces of advice that I've gotten throughout my lifetime. And one is for the spiritual, and that was from my mom. And my mom always has taught me to keep Christ at the center of my life, to keep God first and be dependent upon Him in everything and in all things. And so, in that, that has allowed me to stay spiritually grounded, stay in a place where I am rooted and connected to something that gives me purpose. But the second piece of advice that I got was from a mentor. And this particular mentor, after I finished, Colleen Curry, after I finished my PhD, I had gotten into a space where I was like, you know what? I am not reading anything unless it's a pamphlet. And so I got in this space where I just didn't want to read a thing. And in that, I said that to my mentor, Colleen Curry, who I was working for at the time. And she said to me, "You are doing a disservice to your students." And that hit me like a dagger, for someone to tell me that I was doing a disservice to my students just because I wasn't reading. Well, it hit like a dagger and it changed me and it changed my mindset. And since that day, I have been reading yet again. And so I enjoy reading, and I have been reading consistently thanks to Colleen Curry, Miss Curry, for that little piece of advice that just stung. When I think about my inspiration, or who is a person that has inspired me the most, it would have to be my mother. My mom has been my inspiration. She is my petunia. I am her bundle of joy. And from a young age, my mom exposed me to giving back and what it meant to sacrifice for your community, what it meant to sacrifice for others, and what it meant just to be an inspiration for others. My mom raised me on Matthew 6:33, but seek ye first the kingdom of God and all his righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you. And in that, she showed me that if you make God a priority in your life, all the other things will come. And so my mom is my biggest cheerleader, but she's also that person who will critique me and who will tell me the truth, even if I don't want to hear it. And very often she tells me the truth. Still, sometimes I have to remind her and say, "Ma, you know I'm grown. I'm good and grown." But she is my heart, and she is the one who has encouraged me to achieve everything that I have achieved. And she pushes me. She pushes me, and she lets me know that there is nothing that I cannot do if I just step forward and stay in my purpose. For self-care. Self-care is very important to me. And so in that, I take me days. And me days include the possibility of going to the movies by myself, or it means I'm going to dinner by myself or eating breakfast by myself. But it's about me. And it's really just taking time to just to step away from the busyness of life. And for the last few years, I've also incorporated what I call a mecation, where I take 4 or 5 days away and I just travel by myself. With no friends, no families. It's just me. It's me and the Lord all by ourselves on a beach somewhere, just enjoying quiet time, enjoying reflection, spiritual time. And so it's just a time to step away. I don't have to ask anybody what they want to eat, where they want to go, what they want to do. It's all about what I want to eat, where I want to go, and what I want to do. And so I started that with the mecations. But during this season of COVID, my me time has looked a little bit different, and that my me time has really turned into more physical exercise. I invested in an outdoor bike, and so I don't think I've been on a bike since high school, but I've taken up outdoor cycling, and I also purchased an indoor cycling bike. So I've actually picked up indoor cycling. And so there are two things that kind of help with my physical and mental well being when it comes to my own self care. What is my favorite spot in Cleveland? Mm, that's kind of a good question for me, because I don't know if I have a favorite spot in Cleveland, but what I will say about Cleveland is that anywhere there's a restaurant, I like to go. And especially if it's a restaurant that serves good bread, I'm there. So those are kind of, when you talk about favorites in Cleveland, I love to eat out and I love to eat at restaurants that have good bread. But in Cleveland, we have so many things to do that typically I have a variety of things that I can be involved in and do for enjoyment, such as visiting the museums, going to sporting events, being on a Good Time 3, Lolly Trolley. Those are things, and just entertainment. I love going to concerts. I'm a music fanatic, so anytime there's a concert in Cleveland, probably if you ask where did I spend a lot of time throughout, would be Playhouse Square, because I'm a season ticket holder for the Broadway musical, so spending time there. But I would have to say favorite is anywhere that there's a restaurant and I can get some good bread. What inspired me to go into the STEM field? I wouldn't necessarily say that I'm in the STEM field, than that my work revolves around STEM. I have managed grants that have encouraged STEM work, and so that's kind of how I got into STEM. Ironically, my life has gone full circle because when I was younger in high school, I went through summer programs at Case Western Reserve, the CE Cubed and MEOP program for engineering. And I thought I was going to be a biomedical engineer, but when I got to Ohio State, I kind of changed my mind, got a taste of theater, and my direction changed. But then as I pursued higher education and working in community work, I began to manage grants. And so in that, with working for programs and grants, that's kind of how I got into STEM and doing work with students who are interested in STEM as well as faculty in STEM. So that's kind of my story around STEM. What changes do I hope to see in the STEM field in the coming decade or within this decade? Equity and equality for once for women and for blacks. Let's get the same treatment that our counterparts have. That when you think about the rate of pay, the work-life balance, different things that affect women and affect race within these fields, it's time for a change. It's time for equality. So I would love to see those differences made, and not only just within the STEM field, but when we look at institutions in general, when we look at higher ed, when we look at other areas, it's time for a change. It's time to see the deserved respect for the work that's put forth by women specifically within STEM.